Joined now by Mike Stubbs, the voice of the London Knights, as this year we're going to do things a little bit differently, try to take a look at the other divisions throughout the CHL, and we start with the Midwest division in the OHL. Obviously, Mike's London Knights, one of the premier teams. Mike, are they the favorite? Walk us through how you see the Midwest playing out this year.
The way that Owen Sound has played a couple of times this year, you'd have to think they're going to be a challenge. The Kitchener Rangers as well, even though in the summer, Kitchener's releases were all about guys who weren't coming back. A guy named Joseph Garefa decided he was not going to play an overage year. Boy, was he good. Could play forward, could play defense. And then a goaltender named Luke Richardson decided not to come back and pursue his university. Kitchener had lost a couple of guys, but you look at their roster, they're pretty good. The London Knights dropped their first two games of the year. However, they did so with a very young defense corps. A lot of people across the Canadian Hockey League would have looked and seen the Knights number one in the CHL rankings and then would have seen the Knights go 0-2 and would have wondered why. Well, the Knights had one defenseman with 29 games of experience, one defenseman with 1 game of experience, and that's where the list stopped. Alec Regula had been injured at Detroit Red Wings camp, so it took a little while for him to come back. And then the Knights made the biggest trade in the OHL so far this year in acquiring Ryan Merkley, who's a first-round pick of the San Jose Sharks. And having that veteran injection and a week of practice made a difference. And the Knights wound up winning twice this past weekend.
You mentioned Ryan Merkley. This guy, highly touted, and people were wondering if he could get it together with perhaps issues off the ice, but he ends up getting traded to London in the offseason. How have things gone thus far? What is the prediction on how Merkley will work out in London?
I think it really does have a chance of being a happily ever after fairy tale story. Ryan Merkley was the number 1 overall pick in the 2016 OHL draft and has been a dynamite player on the ice. But there were questions about maturity. There have been questions about whether or not he was getting along with his teammates. Started to be a buzz around a possible move, and I got a text right away. And then I got a text from a different person the next morning. And both said, have fun with Ryan Merkley because what you read is not true. This guy is a great guy. This guy is a teammate that most of his teammates absolutely adore. He arrived in London on Friday, met with the media, was all smiles. He's someone who is ultra competitive, loves sports, and wants to win at every single corner. So maybe that has played into some of the things that you hear. But to have two people who didn't have to send out a message, go kind of above and beyond and say, this guy maybe gets a bad rap that he doesn't deserve. And then he went out in his first 2 games in a Knights uniform and had 5 assists. You have to see him on a power play because he'll play the right point, and nobody walks the blue line better than Ryan Merkley in junior hockey. And he can drag people with him, and he reads so well that when people are coming with him, he's going to put the puck back the other way. The Knights scored a lot of goals on the man advantage in his first 2 games.
Another first-round pick is Liam Foudy on your team, draft pick of Columbus. Foudy along with Riley Damiani of Kitchener, who's a Dallas draft pick, and Aiden Dudas, draft pick of LA, who's with Owen Sound, all getting a look for Team Canada at the summer camp. What are the prospects of those guys playing for the World Juniors?
I think they do come in as pretty good. Riley Damiani, he's somebody with Kitchener that will be a leader of theirs this year. Is somebody who has been kind of brought along slowly by Kitchener, and he's always had a lot of veterans in front of him, and now he gets to take on kind of a starring role. As for Liam Foudy, same kind of thing. He's always had some veterans ahead of him. He begins this year with a bit of an injury, but it's not a long-term type thing. Foudy has such great speed. He has a brother who plays in the league, and when you hear about the West Division and you hear about the Windsor Spitfires, you'll hear the name Jean-Luc Foudy. Liam and Jean-Luc used to line up at their mailbox and race vehicles that were going by. Their mom, France Garot, won a silver medal with Team Canada at the Olympics in the 4x1. Their dad, Sean Foudy, won a Grey Cup with the BC Lions. You have the speed, you have the physicality, and you have elite athleticism from both parents, and both of the children certainly have that.
One story that we like to touch on, too, are guys behind the bench. A couple of famous ones in the Midwest Division. Dale Hunter in London and Jay McKee in Kitchener. How much does having that pedigree help the Knights and the Rangers? Of course, 2 famous franchises in their own right.
You know what? I think it really helps in just the patience. You see London and Kitchener competitive year after year. Well, you can look back at Kitchener's coaching ranks even before Jay McKee. It wasn't too long ago you had Pete DeBoer and Steve Spott back there, and they're now in the National Hockey League. And when you've played at that professional level, you've seen a lot of things. Not many things get to you. you're willing to say, okay, this is going to take some time. And I think both Jay McKee and Dale Hunter have that. Dale Hunter will be behind the bench for Team Canada this year. He's pulling double duty. He understands people so well, and he reads people so well, and he just seems to be able to motivate his players in the right way because of that. Watching a video session with Dale Hunter is kind of like taking a master's level course in university. You're going to learn something each and every time.
And that's all for part 1 of our conversation with Mike Stubbs looking at the OHL's Midwest Division. We'll hear part 2 tomorrow. You're listening to the intermission of Carstar, Cape Breton Eagles Hockey on 1270 CJCB.